Welcome to the Speak with People podcast. My name is Jason Raitz. I'll be your host, and this podcast exists to help you improve your communication skills. Whether you communicate one-on-one, to a team, from a stage, or from behind a screen, we know that when we improve our communication skills as leaders, it exponentially changes everything. It improves our relationships, it improves our leadership skills, and it improves our business skills. So let's get ready to dive into this next episode. Well, how can I grow my speaking business? Have you ever thought about that? What do I need to do to turn my idea or a side hustle into a successful speaking business? I talk with leaders all the time who are thinking that maybe they're in sales or they're VPs or they're business owners, and they want to transition and make more of a speaking business for them. Or maybe you're an existing speaker and you want to scale your speaking business to not just grow your revenue, but grow your influence, grow your resources. Well, in this episode of the Speak with People podcast, I am beyond excited and humbled to interview an amazing leader, an amazing speaker and coach, trainer, Marianne Hickman. She is an accomplished speaker. I have personally learned a ton from her YouTube channel, has just amassed thousands of people from it. And she's just got a wealth of knowledge, especially in self-development, in message delivery, in revenue growth. I mean, so much stuff. We're going to have such a fantastic conversation. Marianne, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation, and welcome to the Speak with People podcast.
Thank you so much, Jason. I'm stoked to be with you. Like, this is my favorite way to meet people.
Yes.
Is on podcasts, not just, the audience, or maybe some of us are meeting for the first time, but you talk about networking for me, I don't know about you, but for me, networking used to be such a really ambiguous, weird word that meant gather a bunch of business cards to throw them away a week later.
Yep.
But now whenever I go to an event or meet people online, it's like, hey, let's do podcasts and let's just like grow and meet each other and talk about cool stuff. So I'm honored to be here.
Well, someone asked me the other day, why do you host, your podcast? Do you really think you'll get to the Lewis Howes level and, all that? And I said, well, maybe that won't ever happen, but it's almost like getting an MBA. I mean, every single week, just like you said, I'm talking with these amazing leaders, taking pages of notes. And if I got everything right, you've recently started a podcast as well.
Yeah. We started back in January. It was kind of funny. It's one of those things where I should really do this someday. And then your best friend calls you on it and you're like, go home and do it. Right. Yep. So that's how it really started. And it started in just January of this year. It's now July. We're about 24 episodes in.
Yep.
And it has been like, I'm getting goosebumps because we have met the coolest people, and like people that are amazing, but no one's ever heard of, and tell amazing stories. And then you've got the big headliners that are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got this person on my show. And it has been something I wish I had started earlier, but kind of the coolest thing for me personally and my business.
I love it. Well, I followed it earlier, the Marianne Hickman show. So I've made my way through 3 or 4 episodes. I'm looking forward to getting through those 24. And you beat it. So they say that most episodes stop at the 7 episode mark.
It's so true. I have a friend that started, they got through 6 and then they quit. And I was so heartbroken because their content's so good.
Yep. Well, already I can tell by this conversation, we're going to just learn a ton. Give us a little bit more of your backstory, a little bit more of your history. Let us know kind of where you come from and what you're doing.
Yeah. So I am an OG Denverite, grew up, born and raised there. I left 18 years into it. I lived in Utah for 20 years. So it's crazy how Utah has become kind of a fertile ground for influencers and YouTubers and podcasters. And it's kind of a neat thing. They call it Silicon Slopes now, because not only is that coming up, but there's a lot of tech companies moving here from California. So it's just a fertile playground for learning how to appear in front of people, grow your business, watch businesses rise up. A lot of them crash and burn and fall down. When I was raising 5 kids, I became a single mom.
Oh,
and that was, no one ever gets married planning to get divorced, but that's what happened.
Absolutely.
And I'll remember this moment. There were lots of reasons why that happened, but one of those struggles I went through was robbing Peter to pay Paul financially. I was on 4 different forms of welfare, and I was looking around me. I was going to school, and none of my professors, I looked up their salaries, had the income that I knew I wanted.
Yeah.
And things started to just line up and click in my brain like, okay, they can teach me how to be a really good college professor because that's what they know. But that's not what I want.
Yep.
And I'm looking around my family group and I'm like, I love my sisters and my brothers, my mom and my dad, and they can teach me how to be a pilot, which I signed up and I did that. And they can teach me how to raise kids really well and teach me how to be a great mom. But they can't teach me the financial game. Like
Right.
nobody, around me knows this. And I came to this moment where, like Abraham Lincoln says, I was driven to my knees because I didn't have anywhere else to go.
Wow.
And I'm kneeling next to my bed, and I kind of made a demand of God.
Mm.
And I said, listen, you've either got to put a box of 100 grand on my front porch because I have a ton of student debt and I
Yep.
don't know how to pay my
Yep.
rent, or you got to put me in someone's proximity who can teach me the money game because I'm losing. And I got to figure this out. And less than a week later, I went to, one of those Tupperware parties, right? It was like an MLM thing,
Uh-huh.
but something struck me and I saw the presenter and I was like, that is cool. And I
Mm.
went to another seminar and I studied that presenter, and I went to another seminar and I studied that presenter, and I started going to these things. And then I stroked my first $25,000 check for
Oh.
mentorship. Yeah, couldn't afford it. I like literally called, I went to creditcards.com, but got a bunch of credit cards, maxed them all out right away. And it took me 5 years to pay it off.
Oh.
But
Yep.
that was how hungry I was for this mentorship. So I studied, how to present on stage. I studied sales. I started making my first 6 figures there. I got 4 pieces of real estate after that, and bought my dream home. And after that, and then I got remarried after that, and things just started to.
Jeez.
And it wasn't by accident, it was by design, right?
Yep.
But it came as a result of decisions that were made a decade earlier. And it didn't happen right away, but it happened by being consistent. And it's still happening. I won't sit here and pretend that I don't have businesses that don't crash and burn. I just closed 2 businesses last week.
Mm.
But what's cool about this is the constant and never ending commitment to growth. The things I complain about now are the problems I prayed for before.
Right.
And that's been the long and short of the journey. And along the way, I have to say my favorite part of it is finding people that are where I was and bringing them with me. I just spoke with a girl yesterday, and she told my story. She was sitting there on the phone with me. She's like, I don't have 2 dimes to rub together. I am single and I want to coach, and I want to do this and this and this. And I was like, okay, this is where why I lived through comes into play, because I went through it so I can help her
Yes.
and then the next dude. So
Yep.
that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Wow. Wow. I'm telling you, that's powerful. Yeah, there's something when you have the expertise because you've walked in the place that they've been. I mean, you can really speak into life at that point then. That's
I mean, you
powerful.
know what it's like, right? You see speakers up there and they move the audience and they move the crowd. And you're like, how do they do that?
Yep. Yep.
What did they do psychologically? Was there like Kool-Aid in the back of the room or
Yep.
something? Like,
Yep.
what's going on? But there's really something to it.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Tony Robbins, everybody knows who he is.
Right.
And I don't think, and based on my interactions with Tony, I don't think that he's the kind of guy that would say, I'm the only one that can do this.
Right.
It's meant for those that feel called.
Wow. That's amazing. And raising 5 kids. We're a fellow 5-kid family, and it's
Cool.
it is no joke.
For real. We decided to add one more on. When my husband and I got married in 2020, we added a 6th to the mix. So I've got everywhere from 18 months to 18 years. It is.
Oh. Wow. Wow. Well, we had 4, and then we adopted our 5th from China, and he's 10.
No
and so
way.
we're past that baby toddler phase,
Wow. What was that like?
Oh, geez. It was a 2-year journey of crazy ups, crazy downs, piles of paperwork, tons of money to raise, and it all worked out. We found ourselves standing in an orphanage in Nanjing, China, and where he was abandoned and, spent his first 3 years in an orphanage. And then here we are now. He's 10, and
Wow.
we've just learned a ton. So it was awesome. Adoption changed our lives. People are like, how come you didn't adopt stateside? And I'm like, we were led to him. We would have if we were led to, someone here in our own neighborhood, but yeah, I can't imagine our lives without him. And it's been powerful. So,
How cool is that? My brother's adopted 5 kids, and he said something, I hope I can quote him correctly, something along the lines of, "You don't always get to choose when your kids come or where they come from."
oof, yeah, powerful. Well, I talk with
Yeah.
people all the time who maybe they struggle having children of their own, and they immediately rule out adoption. They immediately rule, well, we want to have our own kids. Well, adoption is your own kids. Like, you
Yeah,
may not have this, somewhat of the same experiences, but it's powerful.
it
And
really is.
you can change lives. Yeah.
And I have to give a tip of the hat to my husband who took on 5 kids
Whew.
that biologically were not his,
Yes.
but they call him dad. This is what's so crazy. I have to just brag on him for a second because when he was single, he also was divorced, but before we met, he told me again, got down on his knees
Mm.
and prayed. And when he was praying, it wasn't just for a wife, although that's cool and important, but his words were, I prayed for a family.
Mhm.
And so God, with his all, sense of humor, comes, okay, how about 5? And he took him under his wing. They call him dad. He raises him like his own.
Wow.
And, he every morning, literally every morning, I hop on a call with a bunch of my clients and we talk about accountability and stuff we need to do that day. And just this morning, Richard was like, I don't know what to wish for next because I have everything that I ever wanted.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, that just
Holy cow.
yeah, it's wild.
Wow.
Family over
Goodness.
everything. I love that you're all about that.
Wow. My tissues are far away. You're about to like open up the floodgates here. Yeah, it's
Oh,
powerful. So we'll get into what we're going to talk about, but I am curious. My kids have grown up seeing me speak on stages, and I always prayed like, God, I would love one of them, just one of them to, and none of them, not a one, want to. I got one. My 20-year-old is behind the camera, does all of our graphics and reels and videos and website and graphic design, but not a one wants to be on the stage. Any of yours?
isn't that wild? So I've been a big proponent of entrepreneurship. We pulled our kids out of the public school because we wanted more control over their education.
Mm,
And one of the things that we told our kids last summer was, we want you to start a business or get a job. And
mm,
I'm kind of, pushing my agenda of own your own business because I feel like it's better, but I also understand that it's not everyone's path.
yep.
So here's what happened. My daughter started crocheting. She's very good at it.
Huh.
She makes her own patterns and she makes just these cutest little things. So I found this event on Eventbrite and I was like, oh, there's a teen entrepreneur summit. I bet you could go sell your stuff. So we go, we get a booth for $30. She puts all her stuff out and her face lit up when people started just picking up her things and admiring them. But here's the crazy thing, we didn't know that part of the booth rent also got you a spot on stage.
Mm,
And so here she is, like, I got goosebumps thinking about this moment. Here she is, like, I'm helping her put a PowerPoint together and get the stage ready. And she gets up there and she literally broke out in hives. Her neck flared up, just so crazy nervous to get on that stage. She got off. I thought she did great. And, she went on and she made $250 that day in her booth. I was so proud of her. And so the next event is coming up, and I'm talking to the event coordinator, and I'm saying, this is her progress. She's done so good. She actually started a market booth, another market. She's made thousands of dollars a month. She's only 14. And the lady's like, we'd love to have her come tell her story on stage. And my 14-year-old daughter is begging me to not do it.
yep.
She doesn't want it. She's literally like, Mom, I know that's your thing. I know you want that. It's not mine. And dude, the feeling, I'm speechless. I'm like, okay, but I know this would, I can't push my agenda on you, but I know how
Yep.
much it would be like good for you, but
Yep.
okay, I support you.
Yep.
I have a 6-year-old, or sorry, she's about to turn 9. Oh my gosh. She was meant for the stage.
Yep.
She has been since she was in diapers. She loves it, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
It is so hard. I'm sure you've seen this to
Yep.
swallow it and be like, okay, you don't
Yep.
have to. It's fine.
100%. Oh, absolutely. Oh, I've been there. Well, take us back to your your early days of speaking, was there a moment that it clicked, or maybe the first check that someone handed you for speaking that you went, wow, okay, how can I do this? That moment kind of inspired you to go, wait a minute, how can I, you talked about it in your story, earning that first six figures. Like how can I get to that place where, you know, more of these checks are coming?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of ways to earn money speaking. There's a check for your time. They stroke it, and you jump up on stage, and that's it.
Yep.
And then there's, when you jump up on stage, they didn't pay you to be there, but you can do a call to action, gather leads, and then upsell them, which is my favorite way. I make
Yeah.
a lot more impact and a lot more money that way. And then there's the third way where you sponsor a stage, you pay to be there, and you can still collect leads.
Yeah.
So, my first stage, I was 3. We did it at church. They threw me up there. Obviously, that wasn't the moment. But it was a combination of 2 things, because apparently God needed to hit me a lot harder than I probably should have let him. But I remember the one moment when I was tagging along with one of my mentors and going to every event, and I tell everybody, wear your backstage goggles and wear your front stage goggles. Learn everything you can from the audience, but also watch what they do. Where's the pad of paper? What's their body language doing? What tonality, what sequence are they telling their story in? Why are they putting this banner up here? And where's the call to action and all this stuff? And I was at one of those events, and the speaker wasn't going to have their co-host for the next event. And so he kind of did this little whisper campaign in the back of the room, inviting a bunch of his friends and interviewing them or giving them a mini stage in the lobby, just kind of seeing if anyone would be a good fit. And I wasn't even invited, but I went.
Hmm.
And I got up there. And then 3 months later, I was teaching public speaking. And it was wild that people were paying me 25 grand to learn how to do this stuff. And it was this I know I like keeps going back to the spiritual side. I just can't ignore it. It was a spiritual, it was as if someone kicked me in the chest. And I know people don't always get like these rainbows from heaven. Here's your calling, blah blah
Yep.
blah. And that's not what happened to me. I kept searching for it, but that was the click moment where I was like, this
Wow.
is the road, right? That was the moment. It was as if people or universe or spirit or God was saying, there are people waiting for you to master this. There are people waiting for you to teach them this. And if you don't learn it and master it and teach them, they'll just go without. No one else is going to do this.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it was a series of events, but I
Yep.
can remember several touchstones.
Wow. I love that. Go back. You talked about one of the ways to earn is through, kind of that call to action and different, programs and those kind of things. Open that up for us a little bit more. What does that look like? How can people kind of lean into that?
So this is really cool. And I'm glad we're diving into this, because you and I both know there's podcasts everywhere. There's thousands of them. And this is one of my favorite ways to teach my students to appear on stage, because what do podcasts need? Guests. All the time. So
Yep.
there's an easy way for you to get to know people, to network, and to appear on stage. And this call to action element, it doesn't have to be salesy, sleazy, skeezy. It's just giving away a resource. Now,
Yep.
if it's your event, right? You're the guy, you're the host. You can do a paid call to action from the front of the room that says, scan this barcode, swipe your card, whatever, buy my stuff,
Yeah.
right? And that's generally what people think of. But if you're not the head honcho, like my student that's speaking at WealthCon this weekend, it's not his event. Ryan Pineda is not going to let him do a CTA, and he shouldn't, because you'll confuse the audience. You don't want more than one thing. So what is his call to action? Well, his call to action is just follow me on Instagram.
Mm.
So when we do that, I told the guy, I'm like, okay, when you're telling them, follow me on Instagram and text me this question, here's what I want to know about you. Your first post that day is going to be like, here's my free thing that I talked about on stage. I put it in an ebook for you, or a one page, some small
Yep.
digestible document. Go get it. And then what he's doing is collecting all of their emails, and his client base and his email list just grew by potentially thousands. There's going to be 1,200 people in the room.
Yep.
And you can have over 100% close rate if your stuff is that good, meaning these people in the room will all do it and they'll send it to their friends if
Right.
it's that good for your
Right.
people. So that's
I love
the
that.
basic call to action.
I love it. I love it. Let's talk about the speakers. Maybe, they're doing a little bit right now. They've kind of gotten the taste of getting up in front of people, and they're like, okay, I think this could be a side hustle. They want to speak on more stages. But what I've found with talking to many speakers, and unfortunately I was in that boat, and at times, for whatever reason, still step in the boat. I'm like, get out of the boat. Um, we we think that just because I have a website, just because I post stuff, that the phone is automatically going to ring, and
Bless
people
our
are going to be
hearts.
like, "Come speak at our event. We want to pay you $25,000."
Bless
Walk
our
us
hearts.
through why the phone doesn't automatically ring, and what do we need to do to be proactive and helping book our own gigs.
But my friend who's also a speaker trainer, Kooky Megan, you guys will love her.
Mm.
But she coined this phrase and I stole it from her, but I will give her credit. She said, if you want to speak more, speak more. If you want to get that $25,000 check, guys, when I get checks for speaking, it's not because some stranger like somehow scraped my phone number off the internet and was trying to send me 25 grand. Like that just sounds
Yep.
scammy. It's
Yep.
like it just doesn't work. My best speaking engagements are from people who know and love and respect me and have built relationships. So I'll give you an example. This teen entrepreneur event that I went to. And guys, read between the white lines here. If you want to speak at events, go to more events.
Mm.
So I went to this event and I made sure to introduce myself to the event building owner.
Mm.
And I met him. His name is Sean Finnegan. He's a salt of the earth human, absolutely just incredible human. And I was like, Sean, this place is great. And he's like, yeah, you should come host an event here. And I was like, well, tell me more about you. And this man has taught me so much about what it really means to serve and connect. And I was like, well, your story is so cool. I mean, you have several things in common. Can I just have you on my podcast? And I interviewed Sean on my podcast. And then a few weeks later, he's like, hey, I'm hosting this event up at another place. Will you come MC it?
Mm.
Absolutely, love to. Would love to. And so I go MC it, and this room is full of very high elite entrepreneurs. I mean, these are people who wear bulletproof vests in public because they're that well known.
Wow.
And but it was like a totally chill space. There's not like stuffy, uppity. No one's trying to prove anything. Like Sean has
Yep.
aggregated such a
Yep.
elite group of people. So from that event, it's not a paid event, but I get to meet all these people. And I met 2 or 3 guests. I met an actress. I just had her on my podcast. I met another business owner. I have him on my podcast. And then from that event, one of the amazing local Utah influencers was like, Marianne, you did amazing. Will you come speak at my event as well? The best way to get
Yep.
stages and big checks for stages is to go to events. Like I say, if you want engagement in your Facebook group, then you got to engage in other Facebook groups. And here's the thing, it's an integrity play.
Yep.
You can't expect people to do what you want them if you are not doing it yourself.
Wow. Ooh. It's one of those take off the mic and just gave us that beautiful mic drop moment. But that's what we all get hung up in because, maybe we get our head down and doors aren't opening like we thought. And then all of a sudden we stop looking at, oh, wait a minute. There's this great principle, give and it will come back to you, it's pretty amazing. I was at an event last week in Texas and there was a band playing. And so, other events I've been at, I'm like, I want to be the one who buys other speakers' books. I want to buy the band shirt and music. I want to buy, when I have podcast guests on, I buy the book. I make sure we're telling it. There's just something about living that way that, was a Zig Ziglar. You can have everything you want and more if you just help enough people get what they want. It's like, it's just crazy. It's just awesome.
Yeah, I do a demonstration of this. So when I'm in a room full of people, I'm teaching this, I give them all balloons.
Mm.
And I have them all write them up, blow them up, and they write their names on them. And then they throw a party and they're all throwing them around. And then their job is to find their balloon. And it's hilarious to watch this room full of grown adults try and shuffle through. And their balloons are popping and all this stuff. It takes forever. And I stop them and I said, okay, now you need to find your balloon, but you can't look for yours. You just have to pick one up and give it to the person whose name it is. And it's over in 30 seconds.
Mm.
And I'm like, this is the example, you guys, of just exactly what you said. If you can help others, oh, I'm getting goosebumps. When you feel helpless, especially in your business, especially when your business sucks and there's no revenue and it's not coming in and you're not getting the leads and people are not walking on your door and you're like, is this even worth it?
Yep.
Go out and serve 5 people that day.
Yep.
without expectation. You can't invoke the law of reciprocity by expecting reciprocation. It doesn't work.
Ugh.
But if you go out and serve 5 people, you know this, it's like, holy crap, what was I?
Yep.
I was being so selfish. I get it
Yep.
now.
Oh, it's powerful. I was listening to a speaker. I can't remember their name, but it was a great podcast. And the speaker said, twice a week, I'll just email past clients, not to say, hey, would love to come speak again, but how are you doing? Is there
Mhm.
something I can, is there somebody I can connect you with? And they're like, I don't mean for it to book new stuff, but two out of 4 times, they're like, oh, I was, just thinking about you because I need this event and you'd be perfect. And it's just something. I love that.
It's amazing.
This is great. So let's do the rookie and then the veteran. So the rookie speakers who are like, okay, I'm really good at speaking at leadership. I'm really good at speaking at sales. I'm really good at speaking. They have like 5 things.
Mhm.
Give some advice to the rookie speaker, to find their message, so they can, kind of be known for what solution they provide.
So there's a really good training that Forbes Riley has done on this, and there's also a really good training that Hope Zavara has done on this. I've had them both on my podcast. These women are incredible, and it's through finding your value statement. And this is
Mm,
something that grows with time. I like to say that your message is found in the delivery of it. And when you start speaking, again, number one rules, if you want to speak more, speak more. And you're going to craft your presentation like an artist crafts a sculpture. You're going to be sanding off a little bit here, polishing this section over here, adjusting this little piece over here until you come to this very simple, beautiful value statement. People used to call it an elevator pitch. I don't really love that because nobody wakes up wanting to get pitched in the morning, but they do want value.
yep.
Right. So here's the 3-part section that I've taken from Forbes and from Hope, and I've put it together. And this is the statement. And if you can craft this statement and fill in the blanks, throw it on a sticky note, put it on the monitor of your computer so that every Instagram post, every Threads post, every YouTube video feeds and is foundationed by this statement, even if it grows over time, your audience will find you.
Mm,
And this is the statement. I help blank, and that's your demographic, whether it's entrepreneurs or parents or left-handed lawnmower operators, whoever they are. I help blank who suffer from, and then you quote them. You
mm,
quote what they complain about to their friends. Nobody says, I'm suffering from mental overload. What they actually say is, I have 5 kids and I don't have time to do anything.
right.
This is what they complain to their friends with over a glass of wine on Friday night. That's the second statement. And then the third part of the statement is by doing blank. So your modality, whatever you do. So for me, for example, it's I help entrepreneurs who struggle with feeling invisible by teaching them how to get on stage.
Mm,
And that answers the question. Every time you're introducing yourself to someone, if you say that, they're instantly going to know if the question that's in their brain, what can you do for me, is answered or not. They're going to know if you're their people, right?
wow. Wow.
And that's my network has grown so beautifully, and not just by quantity, but by the quality. Like people like you who say, I'm here to serve other people. I'm here to find as many good hearts on the planet and make them stupid wealthy as possible. Like that, those are my tribe.
Mm,
And that's who I want close to me.
ooh, wow. Just imagine uh, the peace of mind that leaders will have, speakers will have, entrepreneurs have when they have that clarity. I mean, it's just because they're like in this state of flux until they find that clarity, because they're like, oh yeah, I could speak about that. Oh yeah, I could speak about that. Oh yeah, I could speak about that. And
No
that
one wants
clarity
you. I'm
just brings
sorry.
so much. Yeah.
Yeah. If you think you speak on everything, then nobody wants to hire you.
Whew.
If you think you
Yes.
can speak to anyone, then nobody will hear you because they don't know if you're for them or not.
Right. Wow. Wow. You're this could maybe sound a little ridiculous, but we take we take these podcasts and we chop them up for reels and we put them on social. You're 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 hitting the mark with some great reels here, because there's just some great one-liners that just kind of stop you. I'm like, yeah, that's exact. I'm like, yeah, Marianne's a coach. You
Oh, dude.
you definitely coach leaders because you have that.
I'm so flattered that you said that. My hope was to one day be like Les Brown or Dan Clark and just speak in quotes all day long. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm close. Every time I hear Dan speak, I'm like, okay, that's a bumper sticker. There's a t-shirt.
Yep. Yep. Today you will win. You know,
Okay,
that's
done.
all you gotta. Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so talk to the veteran speaker who, okay, they've got that clarity. They've got the value statement, and maybe they're struggling with, you know, getting themselves out there. They're struggling with, you know, meeting some of those new people. What's some advice, maybe a kick in the pants for them, you know, to be able to kind of hit some of those new goals?
You said kick in the pants. All right, here we go. Get over yourself. If you're not going to network, guys, you got to be willing to be the dumbest kid in the room.
Yeah.
If you're a veteran speaker, go sit in the front row, because those are the people that learn the most. Sit in the front row with an empty brain and an empty notebook. Take as many notes as you can.
Yes.
Find as many people as you can. Shake their hand. Don't introduce yourself and spew on them. Say, what are you building and how can I help?
Hmm.
How can I feed your vision? Like, and I just play a game. Go to fill your calendars with as many events as you possibly can. Get babysitters, take time off work, take time out of your business. Go find those people and find, like, play a game in your notebook. Write down as many names as possible with as many phone numbers as possible, with as many problems as possible, and then see how many of those you can solve.
Mm.
Like, keep track of it, like it's your
Yep.
KPIs or your critical drivers metrically. But I dated this way, by the way. Like, I literally had a spreadsheet. I'm like, okay, where's my people? Right? My husband knows this. This is a game of growing business, and business doesn't happen with business. We don't do business with buildings or with Zoom accounts. We do business with people we like.
Wow.
So find them and
Yes.
serve them.
Wow. I love it. So you talked a lot about networking, getting out there. Speak to us a little bit about prospecting. You know, what percentage do you recommend to the people that you coach when it comes to cold emailing or cold calling or warm emailing or, you know, warm calling or, you know, what kind of steps do you recommend when it comes to prospecting?
Yeah, so this is again kind of a fun game. I think of it like I don't know, like I'm old school. I played Mario. I feel like every contact is a coin in my pocket, like ba-ding, you know.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just what I do, and especially when you're first starting out, you're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff. Just nobody knows who you are yet, and that's
Yeah.
okay. You just got to
Yeah.
be willing to, you know. I created something that I needed a while ago. I created a list of 400 podcasts. I have a VA that adds to it twice a week, and all of these podcasts need guests. They have said that they need guests,
Yep.
and so I give this to people
Yep.
to topic keyword search. They'll find the podcast, and there's a built-in application in the spreadsheet where they can go apply. And I say, just 10 a month. Go apply to 10 a month, because if you're not doing that already, it's not an overwhelming number, and you should be doing it,
Yeah.
because until people are naturally recommending you more often than you're prospecting, it kind of just naturally takes over. I mean, you know this, you do as many cold outreach as you can. And when the time is overtaken by people calling you back, well, then you naturally just do less of it.
Right.
Because if you're dedicating 5 hours a week to it, and that time is spent receiving phone calls instead of sending them out, well, then you send out less, right? It just naturally takes over. And that's the number one resource I needed. So I built it, is just go out there and do it. And, I have VAs that have, those dummy accounts on Instagram. We just started. We'll see how it works. They're spamming. I pay them $4 an hour. They work in the Philippines, and they go out and they go to accounts that are similar to mine, that have millions and millions of followers. And in that way, they're not similar. I'm not at a million yet, but people that I admire, like Ed Milet, and they
Yep.
go to the people that comment on Ed's posts, and they send them message like, hey, I wanted you to know about Marianne. You should go follow her. And they spend 10 hours a week doing that.
Yep.
And so they're doing that for me. I don't spend my time doing that. I would rather, connect live and in person with real people.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
love that.
gosh, I mean, why not? Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you cold outreach? You're
Yeah.
going to reach 1,000, but maybe get 2 yeses. Who cares?
Right. Right. Get that glorious yes. It changes everything.
Yeah. And it's going to change it for them too. That's the beautiful part.
Yeah.
It's a win for them.
Yeah. There's a podcaster, business entrepreneur, Hala Taha. I don't know if you've ever heard of Hala.
Oh, no. No, that sounds
Yeah,
awesome.
you would love her. Her podcast is
I'm gonna
now I
Google
wish
it while you're looking at it.
yes,
Halataha?
Hala Halatah Hala Taha. Young and Profiting, I believe, is her podcast.
Oh,
And
wow.
she has, I mean, she's just her podcast ranks very, very high in all the categories. You know, she's got hundreds of thousands of LinkedIn followers. She is, I mean, she's a badass. Like, it's unreal. So listen to her podcast. And she recently just did kind of she has a LinkedIn master class, and she just did one, and she talked just exactly what you said. She's like, in the beginning, I had volunteers that helped me believe in my podcast. Then I was able to get VAs. And literally, every episode, we started with 200 DMs on LinkedIn, but we tried to find people who were like, oh, you're in this. Okay, that would fit with who they are. It wasn't just this,
Mhm.
you know, and
Oh, there it is. I found it.
yeah, there it is. I mean, she is something else. She's built a quite a few $1 million a year business, and she's got a marketing agency and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, she has like the it people on her podcast. Like, you name the leader, you're like, oh wow, okay, Charles
Okay,
Duhigg and
goosebumps.
Sean Cannell, and I mean all of these people, James Clear. I'm like, geez almighty. Um, so yeah, you'll love it. But there's that whole issue. People don't want to do some of that outside the box thinking. You know, wait a minute, hire a VA. Wait a minute, get a volunteer. Wait a minute, you know, send. People aren't just going to find your stuff. You have to help them find it.
Like, think about how competitive the social media, I mean, my billboards are flooding the streets and you can hardly see one past the other. The internet's even worse.
Right.
So you're competing. Gary Vee says the best currency right now is attention. You're competing for it out there, and you've got to
Yep.
stand out, and you've got to be willing to put yourself out there. I will say though, while the undercurrent of cold outreach is going, at the same time, have your dream stages.
Yes.
You know, whether your dream stage is a TEDx stage or a Tony Robbins stage, also have your dream contacts in your phone.
Mm.
And seriously, when I say dream contacts, if you really want to make this happen, your dream, for example, I have Will Smith as a dream. I'd love to have him on my show, but I already know what questions I'm going to ask him. If you were to open my notes on my phone, you would see a list of 10 questions I would ask Will Smith if I met him. And you know what that's gonna do? It's gonna pull him to me because I already know what I'm gonna ask him.
Yep.
And like yesterday, Steve Harvey made a post. What would you ask me if I came on your
Mm.
show? And I was like, I know what I'm gonna ask you.
Yep.
And I have it written down. This worked for me. I was at Tony Robbins' event. I was sitting on the very front row.
Mm.
And Tony calls me up on stage. I don't know if you guys know this. The guy's 7 feet tall. He's huge. Oh my gosh. And he's doing all the things that he's doing. And it was amazing. But his MC was Joseph McClendon. Now, I don't know if you've met
Oh,
Joseph. You got to have him on your show. He's
wow.
70. He
Wow.
teaches speaking, and he's so dedicated to health and fitness that the guy has the body of a 20-year-old. Like,
Wow.
it's amazing to watch him speak, and he's so funny. And when I met him, I was like, I'm going to get Joseph's phone number.
Mm.
He's MC to Tony Robbins. I'm going
Yep.
to get his phone number. I have it.
Yes.
I have it because he appeared on a podcast and I was co-hosting the podcast. And the getting ready, they introduced everyone, here's the land times and all that. And I was like, shut the front door. It worked.
Wow.
And guys, I'm telling you, I don't tell you anything that I haven't done myself. Have your dream list and plan on it. Don't hope for it.
I
Plan
love
on
that.
it.
I love that. And you know, years ago, I would hear people say, "Well, you gotta manifest. You gotta think these things." And I was like, "Whatever, you know this." And now I'm like, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I have a list of like right now 7 things that I've identified. You know, things that you're talking about right now, places I want to speak, money I want to earn. You know, the life that I want to provide for my family. You know, those, because really for me, all of this is just about that. I want to, you know, whatever success and financial success I can help others with, and you know, our business. That way, it gives me time to provide for my family, and you know, be able to do that. So, but now I'm like, oh my goodness, like I'm getting closer to a couple of those. Where one day I was like, these are so unattainable. Like you're ridiculous. But you're right.
Right?
You just got to keep believing and moving forward.
You got to have Jeff Griffin on your show.
Jeff
He's
Griffin
a Mind Valley speaker. I can introduce you to him.
would love.
Um, oh my gosh, his story is incredible. But one of the things that he has said, and you know what? It might be Salt Garrison. I'll introduce you to both of them. They're
Okay.
both amazing people. But he said, if you are fangirling over your goals, they will run from you. I mean,
Oof.
think about it.
Wow.
If you're on the red carpet and there's a super fan all up in your face, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here. Will you spit on my face so I can have some of your drool? And will you sign this paper? And you're like, ew. Get away from me. Your goals would do the same thing. If you're fangirling over your next $1,000,000, I know it sounds weird, but it's going to be like, no, you're gross.
Yeah.
I don't think we can be friends. What we do instead that I found works is to collapse that time is we say, I'm planning for you. And there's things that I love about you. And there's things that I actually don't love about you. Like I don't love paying a 30% tax on that $1,000,000. It's not my
Mm.
favorite, but I still want you in my life. So let's make a plan.
Yeah.
That's what brings everything you want into your airspace. People,
Wow.
stuff, money, all of that.
Wow. Wow. I love it. Let me finish with this because this time is like just zipped by. I could ask you 10 more
You
questions.
found my vomit button. I'm sorry I'm overdoing it.
No, I love it. I love it. Let me finish with this though, because speakers sometimes, and I've been there in the past. We have a tendency we get on stage, and we can learn pretty quickly how to get an audience to move. We can help tug their heartstrings and do it in a very inauthentic way. What I've really appreciated about this conversation with you is you just drip authenticity. I mean, from the get go, it was like, wait a minute. I'm like, wow, this is a really real person, a very real leader. What encouragement, what challenge would you give to our listeners about stop trying to be in that inauthentic, just be you, drip authenticity, and you go from there.
Well, I love that you said that because you're right. And we see it from the front of the room all the time. And it is a very expensive tuition to
Mm.
learn how to avoid it.
Oof.
I would say, first of all, get real with yourself. And this is going to sound a little bit elementary, but it's very foundational. Are you having fun
Mm.
doing what you're doing? It is so hard to fake excitement and the genuine excitement, the stuff that makes your stomach hurt, the stuff that gives you crow's feet, the stuff that just,
Mm.
oh, are you having fun doing what you're doing? Because if you're not having fun doing what you're doing, then you're going to feel like a slave to what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel like, oh, I have to get on stage because I have to make this money. And the audience will feel it and you might make a couple bucks. Good for you. But dude, I have seen it happen where the inauthenticity, it works for a little bit. It does. It's like winning the lottery. You can be a millionaire by winning the lottery, but you won't stay a millionaire because you didn't earn it.
Right.
Same thing happens with your business. If you build it inauthentically, it will crumble beneath you and it will become the laughing stock.
Yep.
But if you build it with authenticity, you will go through a school of hard knocks,
Yep.
but you will have so much fun and you will be so excited. And most importantly, you will love the person that you spend the most time with, and that's yourself.
Wow. I love that. So good. Powerful. Well, hey, I love it. I love it. Before I let you go, let me ask you a couple of rapid fire questions. We're building this library for leaders to be able to access. So is there a speaker, if you had to narrow it down to one that, you just, every time you hear them speak, they fill your bucket, they challenge you, you recommend them to a million other people. Is there someone in that category?
Easy. Dan Clark.
Mm.
He wrote the chicken soup. I'm getting more goosebumps, dude. Like he wrote the chicken soup for the Soul series, which I grew
Yep.
up on. But if you ever hear him speak, he's a National Speaker Hall of Fame. And this guy will make you laugh and make you cry within the same 10 seconds. And he will deliver such genuine impact. Like I have spoken with him on stages and sat in the audience with him.
Mm.
And I learn something every time. So I 100% recommend Dan Clark. You can find him all over TikTok, Instagram. But if you have the chance to be in the room with him, pay any price and travel any distance, it's worth it.
I love it. Is there a podcast that you keep going back to that's either guilty pleasure or development?
So I'm actually on the search for several different podcasts right now. I'm like podcast sampling at the buffet.
Yeah.
I do find myself going back to Joe Rogan because even though I don't agree with everything he says, I am fascinated by the guests he had on there.
Yeah.
He just recently had the first guy with Neuralink on there, and he's way into aliens, which I listen to his alien stuff for the same reason that people go to the zoo, just to watch
Right.
and see what
Uh-huh.
happens.
Uh-huh.
He's way fun. Modern Wisdom is also fantastic. I love that. These are one of the top 2 podcasts in the world, which is maybe why I love them. But those are some that I really, really have come to enjoy.
I love it. And is there a book, so a leader listening and you're like, listen, if there's only one book that you have to read, you can read for the rest of your life, it's this book.
Oh gosh. I have a library of like 6 core books that I recommend to people, and one's like on relationships and one's on money and
Uh-huh.
and all of this. But for leadership, I might have to give you 2.
Yep.
There's it's like right over in my room somewhere. It's by Chris Voss. It's called Never
Oh,
Split the Difference. Chris Voss is an amazing FBI negotiator, retired FBI negotiator. He's also in Masterclass. He's very, very good. And then there's another book by, this is equal right up there.
mm,
There's a book by Kim Scott called Radical Candor. And this is a book on communication. I
mm.
find myself referencing this book in my marriage. I reference that. My husband has read it too. It really helps. I referenced this book when I was running a sales floor. I referenced this book when I was working in the C-suite. Like this is,
Wow.
everything is communication. And if you are overbearing, overpowering, or too doormat,
Yeah.
that's wrote everything. So those are my top 2.
Wow. I love it. Well, where can we send our audience to go find out more about you? Where's the best place to find you online?
So mariannehickman.com is my website. I've got a free gift for everyone on there if it's okay to just
Yes.
give that to people. Just mariannehickman.com/free gift. That's my little ebook on how to develop your signature presentation. Other than that, I'm all over social media. So wherever you are, I am. I'm on Threads, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on YouTube. Wherever you already are, I'm probably there. So just come find me and let's play.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for this. This was what an incredible conversation. Thanks for opening up your vault of wisdom and pouring it out. And this was powerful. I mean, really, thank you. Cannot wait to get this out there into the world and tell more people about your coaching and show and podcast and all that stuff. So thank you.
I need to have you on my show then, because this was a blast. I'm going to do this again.
I love it. I love it. Well, thanks so much. Well, thank you for joining us on another episode of the Speak with People podcast. We hope that you were encouraged. We hope that you were inspired and challenged to improve your communication skills. I want to thank you again for being a part of the Speak with People podcast community. Make sure you don't miss out on being a part of the Speak with People Facebook community group. Just head to Facebook, type in Speak with People, scroll down and join our community, because every single day we're encouraging each other. We're helping each other to improve our communication skills. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next episode.